Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Starting Line. I'm your host, Sarah Allen. This week's Starting Line looks at House File 1921, a bill that would benefit those in the deaf, deafblind, and hard of hearing community in Minnesota. Representative Jerry Newton sponsors House File 1921. Under the bill, open captioning would be required on public televisions and audiovisual displays capable of captioning. Thank you, Representative Newton, for joining us and talking to us about your bill. How was the idea for this bill brought to you?
It actually came from my neighbors. Jen and Neil Johnson live right across the street from me. They're both deaf. And I had carried a bill for Jan 3 years ago having to do with an insurance issue, and we got the bill passed, so she thought she'd try it again. Current law says that at the airports in Minnesota, if you have a television on, you have to have closed captioning in the airport. And what they said to me is, it would be very nice to have that if we go to a restaurant or to a bar or to any public facility, if the televisions are capable of doing captioning, because not all programs are, that we have the captioning there. We'd like to see, what's going on the TV. And then as I talked with people, a lot of other people were saying, yeah, that makes sense, because if we're in a crowded restaurant or if we're in a bar or some venue where there are a lot of people and there's a lot of noise and we want to see what's going on the television, it would be nice to have closed captioning. So it's not only the hearing impaired, or they call them deaf or hard of hearing, but it's the public at large, that I think would benefit from that. And we're not asking that the people who have the television sets buy a new set just to accommodate that. As they replace the sets, it's as a courtesy to their customers that they would provide that.
What about jumbotrons and other large video displays? Would they also be required to have open captioning?
I don't know if they're capable of receiving closed captioning, but I think if they are, yeah, I think any place you're in a public place and it's capable of doing it, because you do have people at the games that, there's a lot of noise in the stands. Something comes up on the screen, you don't know what it is. So I think that would make sense as well.
What do you see as the hurdles to getting your bill passed?
That it's too simple, that it's common sense, and that one of the legislators told me, this just makes sense. Why don't people ask when they go to a restaurant or a bar or wherever it may be to have someone turn it on? And one of the issues that I'm familiar with is that many of our deaf and hard of hearing also have speech impediments. So it makes it very hard for them to communicate with someone, in a noisy place. So in many cases it does make common sense, but also it's just a matter of reminding businesses and public places that afford a little courtesy to those that have that problem.
Have you heard anything, though, from businesses or other people who say, I don't like closed captioning, it's distracting to me?
No, I haven't heard anything like that. But there again, in all fairness, the bill hasn't moved, to Commerce Committee where it has to go. And I'm sure that those questions would come up then.
Why is this bill important?
Well, it's important because I think it heightens the awareness of people of some of the difficulties faced by the deaf and hard of hearing community. And it might seem like a simple thing, but for them it's not a simple thing. I think that's the important part of it.
Let's track House File 1921 through the legislative process. It had its introduction and first reading. It was referred to the House Government Operations Committee. A motion was successfully made to recall and re-refer the bill to the House Commerce and Consumer Protection, Finance, and Policy Committee. And we're going to have to wait and see what's in store for this bill. We have a starting line update on House File 1863, the first starting line bill we featured this session. Sponsored by Representative Diane Loeffler, a DFLer from Minneapolis, the bill repeals or updates advisory groups. It is in line with Governor Mark Dayton's priority this session to do away with redundant laws and to make government more efficient. The House of Representatives passed the bill as amended on a 103 to 28 vote on April 10th. The bill now moves to the Senate, where Senator Katie Sieben, a DFLer from Newport, is the sponsor. To check out the interview with Representative Loeffler on House File 1863, you can go to our Starting Line playlist on our YouTube channel. You can learn more about these bills and others in our online news service, Session Daily. This nonpartisan news source employs a staff of professional writers, editors, and photographers that provide you with in-depth, nonpartisan coverage of the Minnesota House of Representatives. Make sure to subscribe to Session Daily to receive updates right to your email inbox. You can also watch live coverage of committee and floor action on House TV. Coming up next week on Starting Line, we'll look to see if there's been any movement on Representative Newton's bill. Of course, you can always email me if there's a specific bill you'd like us to cover here on Starting Line. And remember, hundreds of bills get introduced every legislative session in Minnesota. All of them first have to cross the starting line.